Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Just in case you ever driving a car and your vehicle catches fire under the hood, could be a coil. This coil just burned out, caught fire, had all kind of nasty smoke and everything under the hood. Unplugged the battery, then disconnected the coil and the fuel injector and drove it to find another one. But this came out of a 2012 T6 Volvo S60. Nasty situation. Kicking off the Tinker Day, I don't know if you guys remember, but this vehicle was going through a manual swap transformation and a lot of upgrades. And we put this transmission on and decided we're going to install a Quaife in it. So the first thing we're going to do is support the engine up top, which we did. We're going to drop the transmission. We're going to crack it open. We're going to try to put the bearings on the Quaife, swap out the diff, put the transmission back on, and then proceed from there. We also got an exhaust for this car, exhaust manifold, and a few other things. So we're getting ready to move the jack stands back where they need to be so we can drop this subframe. Transmission out. About to flip it over and take it apart and get this Quaife prepared to put in. Got the handle off. Now we're going to break all these bolts loose and separate this and take out that open diff. And it is split. Man, this thing looks really clean inside. And there's the open diff. And this thing does not have a tone ring on it. It shouldn't. 96 model. Look, this transmission came out of a running car. Didn't have any issues, so everything should be fine in it. Just looking around. Here's that magnet slash filter. Barely got anything on it. Everything looks good in there. And here it is, folks. The Quaife. Don't put it in upside down. We got some bearings. We're going to try to fit on it and then install it. We put bearings in the freezer, so we're going to see if that'll help them slide on there. So we're going to get a little bit of oil or grease, put it on there, and then try to slide the bearings on. We got a frozen bearing here with a little bit of oil on it. A little bit of oil on that. Yeah, that stuff might need to be pressed on. It actually feels like it's going down on there. Oops, that was a mistake. We used this plumbing fitting and it was able to get this down to the top of the diff, but looks like we got another 1/4 of an inch to go, and this is not open enough to go down over there. This outer side is too big. We don't want to be banging on the bearing, so we're looking for a couple more things. That's a little thinner. All right, flip it over, see if this goes over the other side. Perfect, goes over the other side. So we can use this to drive that down on there. And I'm gonna tap it down there with this little hammer. And folks, we are there. The tool that saved the day. I assume we needed to be all the way down with that. Let me go check that open diff. All right, so you put this on the inner ring. You don't want to touch the outer bearing ring. You'll damage it. And just tap that thing down. I'm going to go ahead and give the measurements of this little pipe so that if you can find something that's perfect, that's great. If you already got a diff with you, you can measure the OD of this and the ID of a pipe somewhere. Make sure it fits over the thing that sticks out the end of the diff, but it's only pushing on the inner ring of the bearing, not touching none of this outer stuff on the bearing. You don't want to damage the bearing. Perfect fitting pipe there. This little plumbing fitting that we use to push that bearing on that quaife or that diff, basically 48 millimeter OD, which is 1.8 inches. Let's measure the ID. 1.9 inches. The ID is 1.6 inches. Or 40.5 millimeter. And that would be the perfect size pipe fitting to drive that on. Got all the bolts torqued in there. Now we got to clean up the mating surface here and here so we can glue this back together. And when we put this together, of course, that bearing is going to ride in that race. You want to make sure those races are good, because we got races here to replace them if we need them. And then we're going to glue this closed. And when we layer this down, we got to make sure we get that arm to lock in here. Where'd that? Oh, lock in there. Man, we turned the transmission around. Scared me. Got that magnet cleaned off. Wire wheeled around this surface to get all the gasket material off. Got it wiped down with acetone or brake parts cleaner. Did the same thing to this mating surface. Then I tilted this over and sprayed it out because I didn't want no oil leaking out of it onto our mated surface when I put this together. So I'm gonna go ahead and put me a bead of gasket material around there with this and put this together and torque these bolts down to 29 Newton meters, and those were 75 foot-pounds, which is 100 Newton meters. Things all together, and that's how much sealant we had come out after the sealant bead we put around there. Don't remember if I filmed a bead or not. I think I did. But anytime, no matter where I have this, anytime I put an axle in there and turn it, this turns the same direction. And that shaft turns. I couldn't find any position in the shifting that shaft did not turn with everything else. So we're going to go ahead and bolt this transmission back up to the car and get this show on the road. This thing is getting ready for racing. We are back from lunch, about to attack a few maintenance items before we plug this transmission in. I think we're going to replace these heater lines, heater firewall junction, and exhaust manifold. Manifold doesn't have to go on right now, but we can get this exhaust out of the way and see what else we can get into. A lot of people don't know it, but those firewall junctions, sometimes they just start leaking and explode. Usually when you have a head issue, but they have been known to just start leaking. Usually after somebody's messed with the hoses or cracked them or something like that. But it's a good idea if your car's hose connection, this firewall junction is over 20 years old, just replace the thing. Got the power amp out. Now I'm getting ready to unplug the heater core and pull it out. Got the power amp down there. I'm replacing the pipes with the firewall junction. I'm not sure why people purchase these pipes. These pipes are only needed if you have steel pipes that have corrosion. And that's almost never. I've only seen one set of those. Those are 93, 94 vehicles. Vehicles newer than 94 should have these aluminum ones already. And you could just buy this junction. It's cheaper than buying this whole kit. Anyway, let me massage that one out, put this one in, and put this heater core back in. Folks, we have the transmission hung, the subframe hung, the heater hoses replaced with DO88 heater hoses. Got the firewall junction done, and the transmission is totally installed and bolted in. This is probably the fastest, at least one of the fastest transmission plug-ins I've ever experienced. That thing went in quick. Me and Manny used a floor jack, got it up into position, maneuvered the engine a little bit up and down, and boom, plugged that thing in, twisted it, ran a few bolts in, and we're ready to call it a night, because Manny's got a real job tomorrow and I gotta go find Jim. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.